Gather round, children. I got a tale to tell. There was a time when I couldn't bust a rhyme, had yet to hit my prime, 'cause my mind was such a young mind. And first you got to unwind the mystery of your soul. It's like a black hole, the gravity is too thick. You got to learn to lighten up a bit. It's such a frightening thing to realize every time you close your eyes. You've been cut down to size, 'cause you're stuck with yourself. Ain't nobody else in there to compare yourself to. It's just you, and then you ask yourself, what's it all about? So you try to figure it out, and that's when you'll be tempted to believe foolish things and deceive yourself by letting someone else do your thinking for you, when they haven't got a clue. But you can't relive the hype, don't you see? 'Cause I got a special answer meant just for me, somewhere in my immediate vicinity. And if there's time enough to get it, then in time I'm gonna get it. If there's time enough to get it, then in time I'm gonna get it. 'Cause you know I am the individualist. Yes, I am the individualist. I am the individualist. I'm the individualist. Yes, I am the individualist. I am the individualist. You know I am the individualist. I'm the individualist.
First, hello YouTube, and second, hello Mojo Sideburns. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you again. I'm going to shoot from the hip. I don't want to put this off any longer. Life has a way of changing your plans. Now, for all of those who may be wondering, why am I addressing Mojo Sideburns? Well, he produced a very cool and interesting video that I partly agree with, entitled Individualism versus Collectivism, a False Dichotomy. And like I said, I partly agree. So I would like to add my 2 cents, and hopefully we can have a meaningful exchange. I know we will. I value his insight. In this world, where the concept of singularity is praised, it is proposed that a false dichotomy exists between the concepts of individualism and collectivism. Obviously, I do not agree. The basic argument, as I understand it, is that the individual stems from the collective, and therefore it is false to assume that it is an either-or situation. There are other spins on this, but I think this would suffice. The typical approach is to search out the commonality in hopes of eliminating what one sees as an extreme position. In this regard, they can obliterate the idea of this being a false dichotomy. One of the main challenges in addressing this topic is the degree of perspective and function. In my experience, I have found that when many speak of individualism, many are addressing or thinking of hyper-individualism. In my mind, it is erroneous to state individualism and collectivism as a set of 2 mutually exclusive, jointly exhaustive alternatives. Also, as a side note, many relate to this setup of individual versus collective as a false dichotomy, because they see either individualists or collectivists as attempting to force them into choosing one of the two seeming opposite or opposite extremes. This is not my concern or goal. Let's move on from there. Now for the range of degree. The problem in seeing these as separate entities is the implication both have in regards to relationship. Individualism will bring up images of loose ties and is stigmatized, for value is not introduced. Now, collectivism will bring up images of integration and is seen more as holistic, generally speaking, for it produces the image of cohesion in groups, therefore protective and desirable. If you stay on this plane of investigation, though, then the concept functions in an inaccurate manner, as far as I'm concerned, and is rightfully deemed false. However, it is the idea of value that draws clear distinctions. So, by examining function and intention, we can see this as far from false or extreme. It becomes a matter of digesting parts of actuality to form a more comprehensive view. Individualists like myself, Mojo, value freedom, certain extrinsic motivators like creative expression, which I equate to work and hobby, and personal time. Let's stop there, as this provides an adequate snapshot. We can always go back to this. Let's go to collectivism. Function and value is the key component and establishes the division between the two, individualism and collectivism. So now let's look at collectivism from a, let's say, political standpoint, okay? Collectivists resent the forming and nurturing of strong private opinions, of course. They place social economic interests over the individual. Most times are opposed to privacy due to their willingness to invade it if it suits their needs. And they can care less about ideologies of self-government, self-actualization, self-realization. Harmony and equality are focused on for the maintaining of the group. It refuses to accept that inequality can exist and value agreement, not force, can generate peace despite inequality. So, collectivism is the general ideology that is linked to so many governments that exercise absolute control and depends on centralization for strengthening the collective. This strengthening in the mind of the public is desirable due to the application of democracy. Okay, so I do understand groups are great for achieving certain goals, and without them, certain goals could not be achieved. The difference is I select as an individual to whether or not to operate within one. I establish the timeline my services are contributed. I also determine if the values of those who I am working with in cooperation is acceptable for me. There is no force involved here. In collectivism, the preservation of the greatest number is valued. One is willing to sacrifice, if need be, for the sake of the group's longevity or agenda fulfillment. Limitations are not consistently honored, as the collective is often conflated with the majority, to the degree that denying of rights is justified or can be justified. Also, I ask, what is this contraption, this thing we call a group? Yes, when you think about it, it's pretty simple, right? It is a series of individuals. But if you stop here, then a false dichotomy seems to rear its ugly head. I will not deny this. But if you press on to function and value, then the abstraction falls away and individuals resurfaces. I am not going to structure my existence around this process of formulating general properties, then turn around and give value to something which is not a human being in actuality. The value determines the function. The function establishes the distinction. The distinction yields the separation. No extremes are needed for examination or determination, just actuality and discernment. I look forward to your opposition, as I understand I do not have a popular view. Hopefully, no matter what value assessment you yield, I have demonstrated my reasoning regarding why I do not conceptualize this as a false dichotomy. Thank you, Mojo Sideburns. Thank you, my YouTube audience. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day.